We have the Bucs, Falcons, Panthers, Saints. Falcons made it all the way to the Super Bowl last year. One of the greatest offenses of all time. A lot of question marks for a team that went to the Super Bowl. Maybe it's the reaction to the Carolina Panthers, maybe the fall apart, the Super Bowl hangover. Haven't seen a lot of people are saying Falcons are going to do poorly this year, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that a lot of people think are on the rise, might make the playoffs this year. Dylan said they would make it last year, which was close. A lot of promising talent, made a lot of moves in the offseason to really make them a sexy team. The Carolina Panthers, they are a team that people will have a lot of questions. Are they going to be, back to their old selves, 2015 form? Can Cam Newton bounce back? He's lost some weight in the offseason. Might be a little bit faster, a little bit more mobile, a little bit more flexible. Will that help them? The defense, they made some additions, some older additions, but some additions nonetheless that should help this team out in the present. The offense, Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel, could those additions, another sexy additions for the Carolina Panthers, help this team get back to the playoffs? The Saints, Drew Brees, Sean Payton, they're going to have a good offense. Michael Thomas, a breakout last year. They added Adrian Peterson, one of the biggest ads in the NFL, just due to name sake. But a lot of concerns still for their defense. A lot of people don't believe in them quite yet. And so there's a lot of questions on the NFC South. Let's start off with the team that won it last year, the Atlanta Falcons. Dylan, what do you think about these Atlanta Falcons?
I like them. I think they will have a tiebreaker with the Giants as the best record in the NFC. I think there are some good positive things to note about the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan was the MVP quarterback. I don't know if he's going to provide the exact same thing, but I think their offense is still very talented. They're going to pressure up, and I think they're still going to provide around the same kind of season as last year. You got Julio Jones at the front. You got Devontae Freeman as your running back. A lot of key pieces. I like a couple of their other receivers as well that were getting playing time, especially towards the Super Bowl. So I like what they did, the offense. Defensive-wise, there's some question marks. They got Deion Jones, who I really like. They have Vic Beasley, who I don't think is going to be having as an explosive season as he did last year. We all said ourselves that we think it was a little bit overrated, considering some of his sacks came against some lesser teams. He picked up a lot more stats that way. So I don't exactly.
And we saw it in the playoffs where he wasn't quite as good.
Exactly. They did have. Who was the addition that they got? I'm trying to think. They got
Dontari Poe.
There you go, Dontari Poe. Well, I think is an interesting addition for this team. But I mean, you're going from Kansas City to Atlanta, so I mean, I still think it's a good addition. I like the addition overall. I still think that this team will be productive. I know there's always that Super Bowl hangover a lot of people question about, but I think this team has done enough with their moves in order for them to be still a successful team. So I still have them as tied for the best record in the NFC, 12-4.
Yeah, I have them at 12-4 as well. Actually, I'm going to switch it. 11-5. I think it's these games are going to be split because I think New Orleans is going to be better. Tampa Bay is better, and Carolina is going to be better. I still think only two teams are going to make the playoffs, but I think those other teams, similar to the NFC East, it's going to be a battle it's not a free win because those teams, obviously New Orleans can keep up offensively. I think Carolina, with getting some guys back, I think their defense is going to get back to where it was, which is a big reason what helped them that season. Obviously, Newton's play did very much help them, but I think that defense was key, and you didn't see that defense play like that, especially losing their corners was a big issue. So I think the division is going to be tougher. So I'm going to actually go 11-5, which was
the same record they had last year.
Was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about that, actually.
Oh, and they still got a bye. Okay. Well, this time they're not going to get a first-round bye, but they're going to be 11-5, and I think they're going to be about the same because they do have all the offensive weapons. And it's going to be interesting to see how this defense plays because, we saw their defense play its best in the playoffs and one half of the Super Bowl, which we weren't really thinking about that. But if they can take momentum from how that defense played, because as we talked about during the Super Bowl, they kind of had some corners step up. They had some linebackers. They had some D linemen step up that we never even really heard of. So if those guys can step up, I'm going to switch it back to 12-4.
I like that. Okay, there we go.
I'm switching back to 12-4.
One bird fan helping another bird. All right,
exactly.
Kevo, go ahead.
Okay. Let's look at the facts here. 28 down, up 28-3 in the Super Bowl at the half, and lost. The biggest, if you look at from Mitch's view, the greatest comeback, but it's also the greatest collapse in Super Bowl history by the same coach that a year ago was a part of the worst offensive play in NFL history with a big collapse. Let's look at also, here's a couple of other things here. This 11-5 team got the bye because of a missed field goal by the Seattle Seahawks against the Arizona Cardinals and a missed PAT. So they got the bye in the home field because everyone else wasn't, because of a couple of other bounces and chips. I look at this Atlanta Falcon team and they remind me of the old Indianapolis Colts, Peyton Manning's Indianapolis Colts. They have a lot of offense. Their defense is suspect. And I just look at the division behind them, and I think that not only there's one caught up, I think one is actually going to pass them. I've got them at 10-6. I've got them competing for a wild card spot. I'm not having them winning the division. I think that the collapse is going to have a lot of effect on how they play this year. I think it's going to hurt them. And I think it's going to set them back a little bit. I think the new home gigs are not going to be a huge help. And you have Steve Sarkisian as your offensive coordinator, not Kyle Shanahan, which is also going to be a huge difference as well. So I have them at 10-6. I think they compete for the wild card, but I don't think that they win the division.
I'm right along the same lines as Kev. I have them at 10-6. I have them in a wild card spot. They're not going to win the division.
Whoa.
I think that Atlanta's two sides of the story for me. I look at their schedule, and it's really easy to be quite honest with you. I don't see a lot of losses on that schedule. So for me, I'm like, I can't see this team going below, I will say 7 to be safe, but that's a stretch. Like 6 losses is maybe even a stretch because this team is too talented. Now, the psychological things, you have to deal with that, but I think they'll get over it. And I will say this, their offense is not going to be as good. It's just a fact. There's going to be regression. They are not going to be one of the greatest offenses of all time. It doesn't happen 2 years in a row. It's just a fact. They don't have Kyle Shanahan, and that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge. A lot of people don't realize that. It's going to be huge. But they're still going to be a good offense. They still have talent. They'll still score points. But where I think they'll make up ground is that they have a young, up-and-coming defense that we saw in the Super Bowl. We saw some talent, Grady Jarrett. We saw, they have Vic Beasley. They have Deion Jones. They have, what's that strong safety?
Well, then even like Alford played well.
But they added Desmond Trufant back at corner.
Who's their best DB?
Their best DB. Jalen Collins was terrible in the Super Bowl, but he's also suspended.
Didn't they get Tarkese McKinley too? Wasn't that?
Yes, they got him too. They're going to be a good, fast, young defense that I think is going to disrupt a lot of teams, and I think they're going to be a lot better. They're in that Seahawks scheme, but one thing can be said to counter that point. We've seen teams in the past when they play – this has been said before, when they play the Patriots, teams start to look at what the Patriots did to them and kind of pick apart what they did to them, and that might hurt them, but I think just there's too much young talent there that they can really lose. I believe in their coach, Kev. I believe in their coach. I think they're going to be a good enough team to get the playoffs. I believe Matt Ryan's going to be a good enough quarterback, not MVP, but good enough. I'm a huge fan of Devontae Freeman. Julio Jones, one of the best receivers in the game. They got too much talent. The schedule is too easy for them to miss the playoffs this year. I think they're going to be 10-6, but I just don't see them being a legit Super Bowl contender this year.
And I'm just going to throw it out there. I think one of their wins is against New England Week 7 in New England. I think we've always seen that. It's not going to matter because New England's still going to be the favorite, but I think that's a game that they're going to play for. And it's going to mean, I think, it's going to mean more for the Falcons than it will the Patriots, obviously.
For sure, but I don't know if they'll win.
Against the Patriots when it was on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's how we feel about Atlanta. Hot Atlanta, which, by the way, gets a new stadium this year. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is a team that a lot of hype behind this train, baby. Jump on the Jameis Winston bandwagon. Myself and Dilly Vanilli have been on this bandwagon for quite a while. And I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win this division. Now, it's not going to be by a lot because they're going to finish with the same record as the Falcons. It's just going to be by tiebreaker. So they're going to be 10-6, but they're going to win by tiebreaker. What I see in Tampa Bay is a young, up-and-coming, extremely talented quarterback in Jameis Winston, who now has a couple more weapons around him that can help this offense. Deshaun Jackson, like Adam was raving about. Okay, Kev, that echo's bugging me. Can you please mute yourself? Thank you.
Why? I'm not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, because you have an echo. I'm not just telling you to mute yourself just to mute yourself. Okay, Jameis Winston, Deshaun Jackson is going to help, like Adam said, stretch the field. That's also going to help take coverage and safeties away from the freaking monster that is Michael Evans. And then they're going to have in the backfield, hopefully Doug Martin comes back after a couple games suspension and looks like his former self, because every 2 years Doug Martin goes off. So maybe this is another year where he goes off. Jaquiz Rogers, actually a decent fill-in. Charles Sims, a good pass-catching running back. Offensive line, a little tiny bit of a concern, but you got at the tight end Cam Brate, who's really underrated, and O.J. Howard, who's one of the best prospects at tight end a long-ass time. Defensively, they have amazing young linebackers. Alexander, Levante David, both very fast, both very skilled, good in coverage. Defensive line is very underrated, especially the D-tackle position. McCoy is really good. And the secondary isn't the greatest, but I think they have enough there. They have some young players. They also have Brent Grimes, the veteran corner who kind of had a resurgence last year. This is a team it's time to make the playoffs. They were 9-7 last year. They're going to get one more win, and they're going to win the division. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jameis Winston. Ride the train, baby. Let's go.
All right. When I wrote down these records, I wasn't sure if I was going to go with one or the other. But I'm going to be bold because I like to be bold. I think Tampa Bay will go 11-5 this year. Okay, I have a 12-4 team and an 11-5 team in the same division. That's very difficult to see, but I'm predicting it. Tampa Bay is extremely talented. Jameis Winston, I still have a little bit of hatred for all those tweets that I get for saying that he was going to be a bust. But, again, we all make wrong decisions.
I was going to bring that up, but I didn't want to make you angry. But now that you brought it up, how do you feel about Jameis Winston?
You know what? I still think there's some things he can definitely improve on, but I definitely think he has improved from the things that I didn't like.
He does need to get rid of some of the turnovers.
Yeah, that's a key.
But that comes with his bravado. That comes with his cockiness. Go ahead.
I did like what I saw. I mean, compared to what I thought coming into the draft to right now, he's improved tremendously. I like that. Mike Evans. I've seen this guy play since he was in A&M. I think he's extremely talented. I love the guy. I think he's one of the most underrated receivers in the game. Then you add Deshaun Jackson in the mix. That's going to be a huge addition. That's a great pickup for them. And then you got the defense that's certainly getting better. They were inconsistent at times last year, but I think they're going to be a more sufficient team down the line, down the stretch in that division. I'm on the hype train, man. I thought they were going to make the playoffs last year at a 9-7, 10-6 record, and I'm going 11-5 this year. So you better back me up this year, Tampa Bay. I'm going to beat your ass because Oakland did do it last year. So let's get that train going.
Yeah, I'm going 11-5 as well, but I had the Falcons at 12-4 because I was going to have them very close. I just think if you look at the same games they have together, like the Packers, New England, I just think Atlanta has a better chance to beat those teams rather than Tampa Bay when they're just kind of not really used to playing in those big games or all those big teams they've played. It's normally been a wash. And if you look at their season last year, they had a decently easy schedule and they won a lot of games against Carolina and New Orleans as well. So I do think they make the playoffs, though. I think they're the first wild card team, and then the Eagles being the second. I do like what they've done, and we would forget to talk about got to talk about OJ Howard, but obviously Cameron as well. So they're going to have a 2 tight ends there. Yeah, I guess the running game has always been the problem, plus a bit of their offensive line. But I guess picking up J.R. Sweezy from Seattle is not bad. Their defense, their D-line, and their linebackers are always great. And then you just kind of got to watch out for their secondary. But they brought in J.J. Wilcox from Dallas last year. Vernon Hargreaves seems to be getting better from when he got drafted. And then Brent Grimes, who you just never know. But decent enough.
As long as is it wife?
Yeah, it's his wife. Yeah.
As long as his wife doesn't do anything shady, I think we're good.
Yeah. Oh, and Aguero's going to just miss so many kicks. No, I'm kidding. He's on the Bears now.
He's on the Bears. Yeah, because the Bears are trying to out-lose the Jets, which is almost
exactly. So, no, I do like them as my second best team. We'll get into the other 2 teams, but I do think what helps their schedule is I think they play and win some games, maybe even split against Atlanta, and then win a majority of the games against the 4 games that they have against New Orleans and also Carolina.
Kev.
All right. I have them at 12-4. So I have them as a
even higher than us. Holy shit.
Yeah, I look at this team. I think I remember that game against Seattle, the 12-5 game. They just will come out and they will punch you in the mouth, and they are not afraid to punch you in the mouth. And they will fight you until the end. I think they're better than Atlanta right now. I have them as the number 2 seed, actually, shockingly, in the NFC. I think they have got a lot of gusto. They have a lot of guts. I think that there's still teams that are going to underestimate them a little bit. And I think they're going to make a lot of noise. I have them as the number 2 seed, and I can see them beating Green Bay in the NFC Championship.
Wow!
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay,
that is crazy.
This is like saying. So what Kev is saying, if I'm correct, is that Jameis Winston is going to have a Cam Newton 2015 season.
I can see it. I can see it.
But Newton did it in his 4th year, and Winston's going to do it in his what? Would it be
3rd year?
Third.
It would be his 3rd year.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. It could have. I don't know. Could have. We're all on the train of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We all think they're going to make the playoffs. Hopefully they don't disappoint. But I think why I'm so confident, and you brought up a good point, Kev, is that point where teams are going to kind of underestimate them. The way that you look at the schedule and it's like the Bucs. It's like, the Bucs, they have some promise, but it's the Bucs. Like the last year, the way that teams looked at the Cowboys, the way that teams looked at the Raiders, these young up-and-coming teams, that a lot of people were like, it's not the Patriots. It's not the Seahawks. We don't prepare the same way. We don't play the same way. And maybe that might be the same way with the Bucs. I don't know. And the second point is I believe in Jameis Winston's leadership even more than his actual play on the field.
And just if we look at their schedule too, and against the Dolphins with Cutler, Bears, Vikings, first 3 games, if they go 3-0, and then the next stretch is when you're going to really know what the Buccaneers are about, because then they go Giants, Pats at both games at home, and then Cardinals. So that's
favorable though. They play the Patriots and the Giants at home.
Exactly. And their first 3 games should be wins if they play we think.
And they play the Patriots on Thursday night at home.
Yes, on a short week. Yeah.
Any team's going to beat them, it could be the Bucs.
I said that in the offseason, by the way.
You did say that. I will give you that. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers with Cam Newton.
Stop. He's getting 5 losses right there.
Yeah, so the Panthers, are they going to be back to 2015 form? Or are they going to be somewhere in the middle? And that's where I think I project them. I think they're going to be about 8-8 this year. I'm very concerned about Cam Newton's health. I think that might be a factor. I think there's going to be another couple games similar to the way that Michael Vick was in his career. There's going to be a couple games with Derek Anderson playing. I just think that's going to happen. That might be a couple losses on the team there. But the Panthers, I like what they did offensively to add some speed, add some ability, add some playmaking ability, because they haven't really surrounded Cam Newton with the greatest talent. Even in 2015, he didn't have any electrifying receivers. Kelvin Benjamin didn't even play that season. Like Ted Ginn was his #1 receiver. They still have Greg Olsen, go-to guy, one of the best tight ends. Can we say at this point of all time? I mean, he's up there. He's probably in the top 20, I would say safely. But he's been one of the most consistent players in the NFL. Hasn't missed a game, I think, in his entire career. And I could be wrong, but I think that's pretty true. Christian McCaffrey is going to instantly become one of the best receiving running backs in the league, if not one of the best dual threat running backs. We'll see about the running part, but he looked decent in the opening with his explosion in the preseason, but his pass catching will definitely be there. Curtis Samuel's been injured, but he'll give some explosion to this offense. Calvin Benjamin is there for the red zone threat. So their offense is decent. The offensive line is a main concern. But if they can get a little bit better, I think they signed Khalil from the Vikings, which that's not a great upgrade, but we'll see. We'll see if he fits better with the Panthers. Defensively, they brought back, as my friend calls him, the Devil, because once he left the Panthers before, he started to call him the Devil. But now he's back. Julius Peppers is here, and maybe one last run for him defensively. But Luke Kuechly being back is massive, of course. Best middle linebacker in the game. You have Thomas Davis he just signed a contract today for 1 year. Shaq Thompson, I think, is going to elevate his game. Bradbury is becoming one of the under-the-radar corners in the league. If that secondary plays better and this defense, like Adam said, plays the way it did in 2015, this is a playoff team. I don't think they'll be quite that good. They'll be somewhere in the middle ranks of defenses in the league. Offense will be somewhere in the middle with some explosion, some big games. And I see them just kind of a middle-of-the-road team at 8-8 due to Cam Newton's health, and a couple other factors, the Falcons and Bucs being good teams.
Guys, I got to go 6-10. I feel it to be that a little low. I know people are going to say that's low. I don't know, man. Like Cam Newton, his health for me is concerning. That's one thing to be concerned about. I do like the addition of Christian McCaffrey a lot. I do like seeing that being as an explosive factor, and I put him in #2 on my offensive rookies of the year just because I think teams are not going to be able to scheme for him. I think a lot of teams are going to not be able to see the speed and agility and not really figure out how to stop it, especially with him being a receiver threat. But, man, I don't see a lot of upside, especially with the teams that are in this division. I mean, you have a 12-4 team that I predicted, 11-5 team I predicted, and another team that's going to go over 500. So I just feel like this is going to be the team that's out in this division. It's just tough luck. But I don't see them with the schedule that they have winning a lot of key games, and I think they're going to be down pretty quickly in the season to where they don't get too many great victories. I got to go 6-10, surprisingly enough.
I'm going similar to the NFC East. I'm going 9-7, so 3 teams above 500. I do like them. I think they're going to be – their defense is better. I think the defense is actually going to hold them together more than the offense. Watching that first preseason game, it was only one drive, but the full defense played, and they looked pretty good. Luke Kuechly, if he can stay healthy, could win some games just on his own, stopping the run of the other team and in coverage. I'm not as sold as McCaffrey. I think he has great skill, but I just don't think he's going to be able to run between the tackles. He's not going to have to do that. He's going to be like Reggie Bush. But I think with Stewart getting older, I think they have Artis Payne is another guy. Who else? It's Fozzie Whitaker. I just don't think they have a between the tackles running game like they did when they went to this Super Bowl, like Jonathan Stewart.
Depends on Stewart.
It does, but I do think he's a bit older. He did look a bit heavier. He's always been a heavy guy, but he does look even a bit heavier than he did then. Because I was watching that preseason game, and McCaffrey, yes, he's patient, he's small, but I still think this is the NFL. It's not the Pac-12 anymore. Guys are fast. The guys are just the same. You know what I mean? If you get him in the open field and create some plays for him, what is it? Shula is the offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
If they can do something with him, it's going to be good. But like we were saying, playing Tampa Bay twice, I could even see them losing one game to the Saints. I think Saints is actually going to be the last place team. But there's some games I just don't think they're going to win, even though they have a somewhat easy schedule to start. I don't know. I think it's gonna be 9-7, and I could see them making the playoffs and switching it around. But I had to put them at 9-7 because I couldn't have 2 teams from the NFC East making it and 2 teams from the NFC South and 3 teams from the, you know what I mean? Because I have Falcons and Tampa Bay already making it, and then I have Giants and Eagles already making it in one division. So I couldn't really put them in the playoffs. But I could see them, if they put something together, I could see them maybe a tiebreaker or maybe getting in that last wild card spot, depending on what happens. But 9-7 for me, but I think it could be 10-6.
I'm kind of similar to Dylan. I'm gonna go 7-9. I want to feel like
I will say that Kev historically has been down on the Panthers. I will say that.
Yeah, I like that defense. Luke Kuechly is one of the best linebackers, middle linebackers in the game. If he is healthy, I'm just concerned with those concussions.
The best when he's healthy. Come on, Kev.
No. There's a guy wearing 54 in Seattle that I would say is a bit better than him. But I'm a homer in that case. But anyway, I just look at.
Did you mean 54 for the Patriots?
No, I did not. I think it's going to be a lot of around Cam's health. His health isn't great, but I'm going to make the bold. This is my bold prediction for the Carolina Panthers. Is Colin Kaepernick will start a game for the Carolina Panthers and win one game.
Why? They have Derek Anderson.
This man threw an interception the first play that he
Derek
had.
Anderson's not that bad.
No, he's not that bad at all. And Joe Webb? Are you kidding?
Yeah, look at Joe Webb. He won freaking out of money, bro.
Yeah, man. Preseason was balling.
Is that even a term used?
Who was that random receiver he was throwing to, too? I got to get his name here. Oh,
Brandon Burson.
No, Demary Bird. That was the guy.
That guy. He's a bird in there.
Walking him.
My point being is I don't think Cam is going to be healthy, and I don't know if Cam is going to be as effective as we've seen Cam before. Cam needs to move around. Cam needs to run, and when he is at that, he's one of the best in the game. But he's not at that point right now, and I think that's going to huge concern. That's a huge concern for me. I just don't see them having the weapons around them, even with McCaffrey. I still see 7-9 and last in the division.
I'm just going to quickly add the 3 guys that I think helped them that they picked up that we haven't mentioned is Khalil. He has a new left tackle, which I think
did mention him, but I'm not sold on him like you are.
No, well, I was sold on him, and obviously I think he's going like this in his career really quick. But I think it could be an upgrade. And then obviously Mike Adams and Munnerlyn are better in the secondary than what they've had.
I actually am
a
fan of Mike Adams. I always have been.
Me too. But he is older, but I still think they've upgraded that a bit, their secondary.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. It's maybe not for the next couple seasons, but for this season. That's what I was kind of saying.
Right now. Yeah.
So we all think the Panthers, well, actually 2 of us think they're going to be middle of the road. And 2 of us think they're going to be worse in the division. So next up, we have the New Orleans Saints, who I'm guessing myself and Adam have last in the division. I have the Saints at 6-10, which is basically what they've been for the past 3 years. Reasons why. Okay. Defensively, I just look at that depth chart and still I just can't see them being better than the Panthers. I mean, the Panthers defense itself is going to win them more games because the Saints are going to have to shoot out every game like they used to. And when I look at this Saints offense, yes, it's really talented. Yes, they have Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Is Drew Brees still the same quarterback this year that he's going to be that he was? He's 40 years old almost, guys. Is he still going to be – is he still Tom Brady? Are these guys still going to be the same – I don't know. If there's any older quarterback that's going to drop off this year, I think it's Drew Brees because of the guys around him. And are we really discounting that Brandon Cooks didn't add anything to that offense? When you have Brandon Cooks, safeties are playing 30 yards back. Michael Thomas is just getting all these 15-yard catches just with regularity. Now they have Ted Ginn. Is that the same player? I mean, I don't know. I still think the Saints offense is going to be good. I'm concerned that they lost their best lineman in training camp. I'm concerned that Drew Brees' age. I'm concerned that the receivers aren't quite the same. I still think Michael Thomas is really good. Their run game should be decent and an upgrade. I think Mark Ingram is still their best running back and will be their starting running back, but I think Adrian Peterson adds more than Tim Hightower did. But defensively, still not sold, especially with Nick Fairley out. And I'm just not a huge fan. I don't know what it is. I've bought into the Saints over and over and over again, and I just can't do it this year.
I was considering them putting them 9-7, but I'm going to go safe and go 8-8. I just think there's so many good. Like, they don't have an extremely tough schedule, other than the teams they play in their division. They play, I believe, the Patriots one time, the Texans, and a couple of other teams that are difficult to adjust with. So, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that extremely difficult to see them go in a good season. But I'm going to go 8-8. I just think that's the most fair for me. That defense is really poor. I will say that, but I think Drew Brees will still be on his game enough to go 500.
Yeah, I'll go. Like, I want to go 5-11, but looking at their schedule, they still have some tough games, and I think the division matchups are what's going to happen. But out of six division games they play, like, I think they go 1-5 in their division, and that means they're going to, have to win some pretty big games outside of their division. So I'll go. Actually, I'm gonna go 5-11. I just don't think this defense is very good. I think what Mitch said, like losing Brandon Cooks, Breeze another year older. That offensive line isn't that great. Willie Snead I like, but like you said, they don't really have a linebacker. They did get Marshawn Lattimore, but then they have like Kenny Vaccaro's great, but then they have like PJ Williams not good. Ken Crowley who's starting at left, and then Von Bell at free safety.
Please don't tell me they're playing Sterling Moore.
No, he's not on the depth chart right now.
Oh, okay, I don't even know if he's on their team anymore, but
no, he is, but he's like the third left corner, so he's like the seventh DB. Okay. But yeah, but Ken Crowley, who was a college free agent at 16, Vel Bond, who they drafted last year, I believe, and then Marshawn Lattimore, who I think Marshawn Lattimore is going to be quite good, but they don't really have linebackers. That's why I even think, being Manti Te'o is the third middle linebacker right now on the depth chart. Like Craig Robertson from Cleveland, who played in Cleveland, is the first middle linebacker. That's why you could even say, just for my BC Lions, that Adam Bighill could make this team. I hope. But anyways, I just don't think they're going to be very good. I'm actually going to go 5-11 because I don't think they win a lot of games in their division. And looking at it, I think just other teams are going to be able to shut down Breeze in that group more so than they, have in the past. So 5-11 for me.
All right, so Kev,
you forgot me. Very quickly.
I felt like you talked. I felt like you said they're going to be like 9-7. Is that my guess?
Yeah, I've got them competing for the playoffs 9-7. It's the schedule.
Got it.
I still think they have a lot of weapons, and I still think Drew Brees can do it. I have them at 9-7. I think they're going to be. They'll compete for the playoffs. I think they'll get off to a really good start, but I think that they'll fade at the end.
Why do you have them at 9-7?
I think that I like the offense. I think they have enough weapons to get off to a good start. Yes, their defense is a no-name defense, but I feel like this year they will be not great, but better. Not like an outstanding defense, but I feel like Dennis Allen's going to bring a bit more calmness and not so much bravado and arrogance. I think that they're going to be schematically a bit of a different defense. And I don't know if they're going to be as aggressive offensively, actually. I think they're going to be a little bit more conservative than in past years. I think they're going to run the ball a little bit more. And they're going to have to be high scoring, but I think they're going to be more conservative and a lot more time possession based team that I think that they'll get off to a good start, but kind of stumble down the stretch.
Fair argument. Okay. So for our NFC South standings, I have the Bucs and Falcons tying at 10-6, but I have the Bucs winning the division by tiebreaker. Panthers 8-8, and I have the Saints at 6-10.
I have the Atlanta Falcons going 12-4, the Buccaneers going 11-5 and getting the first wild card. I have the New Orleans Saints at 8-8, and I have the Carolina Panthers 6-10. Adam, you're on mute.
I got the Atlanta Falcons going 12-4. I have the Tampa Bay Bucs going 10-6 for the other wild card spot. And then I have the Carolina Panthers going 9-7, and I have the New Orleans Saints going 5-11.
I have the Buccaneers at 12-4, Falcons 10-6, Saints 9-7, Panthers 7-9. I have the Falcons in the wild card spot, as well as the Giants, by the way, just so we know.